Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's DinaKalmeta here. And for today's news, I just wanted to bring you guys a quick update. Normally, I don't do videos on Sundays, but we had a lot of activity in the last few days. And of course, we're going to start with Venezuela. As I'm sure you already know by now, President Trump announced that the Venezuelan leader, Nicolás Maduro, and his wife had been captured and flown out of the country as part of Operation Absolute Resolve. And he was booked in a New York City prison where he will be held pending trial. The former president was transported to the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention on Saturday. Maduro will reportedly be held there as he awaits trial. His initial hearing could begin in the next 36 hours. President Trump said that the United States would take control of Venezuela for the foreseeable future. The Venezuelan Supreme Court, however, tapped the vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, to run the country in the meantime. Apparently, the VP over there has been critical of Maduro's capture and has called on the U.S. to release him. She called his seizure a kidnapping and claimed it violated international law. But the dictator's capture sparked jubilation from Venezuelans all across Venezuela. There were several celebrations in the streets, and they are happy to finally be free of the dictator. In the meantime, world leaders had their own opinions. Let's start with Brazil. The president over there said that the strikes and capture crossed an unacceptable line. Mexico condemned unilateral military action as violating the UN Charter. Colombia raised deep concern and emphasized peace and international law. France criticized the operation as violating international law and urged political transition without outside imposition. Spain, in the meantime, said it didn't recognize Maduro, but also won't recognize an intervention that violates international law. Chile condemned the U.S. military actions and called for a peaceful solution. Russia called it armed aggression and demanded de-escalation. China said it was deeply shocked, condemning use of force against a sovereign state. Iran condemned it as a blatant violation of sovereignty and urged UN Security Council action. Belarus and Nicaragua condemned U.S. aggression, demanded respect for the Venezuelan sovereignty. Norway, Malaysia, and Singapore stressed the operation was not in accordance with international law and opposed the intervention. Meanwhile, Argentina said it was excellent news for the free world. Ecuador praised the move. Israel congratulated Trump and praised the action. The United Kingdom said it wanted to establish facts first, emphasized international law, and said the UK wasn't involved. Germany called the legal assessment complex, urged a transition that is legitimized by elections, and warned against instability. The European Commission EU leadership repeated that Maduro lacks legitimacy, but emphasized UN Charter, international law, and restraint. And then we have Canada, Denmark, Japan, Peru, Panama, Bolivia, largely focused on de-escalation, protecting nationals, and pushing for a democratic transition under international law. So it looks like it's a little balanced, but we may see a lot more pushback, especially here in the United States. You got a lot of people that are for it, and then you have, of course, a lot of people that didn't vote for this particular president against it. I don't know. The people in Venezuela are the first concern, and if they're happy and free, and a lot of them are, that's what we should be concerned about, the people. But we all know that it's much bigger than that. Now, in the meantime, after capturing Maduro, President Trump has hinted at military action in Cuba, Mexico, and Colombia. Even Rubio said that the Cuban government should be concerned. The New York Post reports that President Trump issued a thinly veiled warning to Mexico's president on Saturday, and he had strong words for the leaders of Colombia and Cuba and said that the attack on Venezuela wasn't meant to be a warning for Mexico, but said something's going to have to be done to run the country. He said, "We're very friendly with her." Speaking of Mexico's president, she's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico. She's not running Mexico. President Trump said that Colombia has to watch their blank and branded Petro a troublemaker and said he better watch it. Trump also labeled Cuba, which relies on Venezuelan oil, and furnished Maduro with security guards and its president as a failing nation. Cuba, as you know, the president said, is not doing very well right now. That system has not been a good one for Cuba. So definitely some very interesting developments in the last few days concerning concerning Venezuela and everything surrounding it. And I guess we're just going to have to wait to see what happens. And I'd love to get your thoughts. So please do leave your comments below. Obviously, this is a fast moving topic. So I hope to bring you another update during the week. In the meantime, let's talk about what else is happening around the world as it concerns the prophecy, wars and rumors of wars. Iranian leaders are turning up the temperature to boiling. The Daily Mail headline lays it out clearly. Iran warns all U.S. bases and forces in the entire region will be legitimate targets after Trump vowed to protect anti-regime protesters. This is not a vague, we don't like you statement. This is a battlefield declaration. Every U.S. soldier in Iraq, Syria, the Gulf states, maybe even the Eastern Mediterranean, put on a list as legitimate targets. Prophecy Recon reports that Trump had warned Iran that he is locked and loaded. He made it clear if Iran cracks down on protesters with lethal force, if they start another crackdown like we've seen before, the United States is prepared to intervene militarily. At the same time, MSN is reporting that the Iranian supreme leader says he will not yield to the United States' threats. In Europe, the war that many hoped would wind down in 2025 is actually expanding. Metro reports that Putin has ordered expansion of the Ukrainian war in 2026. So instead of negotiating a settlement, Moscow is pushing for a larger buffer zone, ordering new land grabs. Russia's economy is straining under massive military spending, but the Kremlin is doubling down. At the same time, a quieter but equally dangerous battle is happening below the surface, literally. Sky News reports that Finland police seized vessels suspected of damaging Baltic Sea cables. Undersea cables are the veins and arteries of the modern world, carrying our data, our communications, and our markets. Attacking them in a form of hybrid warfare, not tanks versus tanks, but saboteurs versus infrastructure. Now let's shift to Asia, and the language becomes even more alarming. Express reports that China's president has issued an unstoppable Taiwan invasion threat. Unstoppable, another word for inevitable. And he's not asking, he's declaring it. And The Independent warns that it's not just Taiwan. 5 other flashpoints that could spark World War III in 2026. Are you ready? Taiwan in the South China Sea, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, tensions in the Middle East with Iran and Israel, and then, of course, here we have Venezuela. Now tie it back. China is not only threatening Taiwan, it is also signaling in Latin America that it will not give an inch to the United States. So we have Russia pressuring Europe, China pressing Asia and creeping into the Americas, Iran pressing the Middle East, and here we have Venezuela. What does that sound like? It sounds like the early stages of a global realignment. What has happened in Venezuela is going to change everything. And as always, I will continue to keep you updated. But again, please do tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. And until next time, everyone, have a good rest of the weekend. God bless and stay safe.